Have you ever lived alone and suddenly realized that you've developed some interesting habits? Things you would probably never do if somebody else lived with you? For example, I occasionally sleep on the couch, not because there's anything wrong with my bed and not because I've had a fight with somebody. I just sometimes think, you know what? I feel like a change of scenery. So I'll make up the couch, get comfy, and sleep there. And because I live alone, nobody is standing there asking me, "Why are you sleeping on the couch?" I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I don't even have to explain myself to myself. And that's one of the great things about living alone. You get to be a little weird or eccentric, and nobody cares because nobody knows, well, till now. There are all sorts of things I do because I live alone that would probably seem completely ridiculous if somebody were here with me. For example, I have made pancakes at 4 o'clock in the morning, or a mug cake. I know I've mentioned this before. Now, I don't make this a habit, but I have done it because I can. There's no one here to say, "Are you seriously making pancakes at 4 in the morning?" I've also had a habit of eating the same meal for several days in a row. I'll make something I absolutely love and I'll think, well, this is wonderful. I'll have it again tomorrow. And the next day, and maybe the next. But suddenly on day 4, I look at it and think, I never want to see you again. But there's no one saying, didn't we just have that? Yes, we did, and it was delicious until it wasn't. I also have a ridiculous habit when it comes to television. I'll start watching one show and then I'll think, well, maybe I'll see what's on Netflix. And then I'll check out YouTube and then I'll watch the first 10 minutes of something else. And then I'll think, well, maybe I should watch that documentary I heard about. And before I know it, I have 6 shows in progress. But nobody is sitting beside me saying, can we please just finish one? Nope, we cannot, because I need options, and these tiny little freedoms are some of the things I appreciate the most about living alone. When you live alone, every decision is yours. What furniture goes where and what color the walls are going to be. Whether the towels match, you get to decide what your home feels like. And I think that's a bigger deal than we sometimes realize. Because home isn't just where we sleep, it's the environment we live in every single day. And when you live alone, you don't have to negotiate that environment. If you want quiet, then it's quiet. If you want music playing all day, then cue the music. If you want the television on in the background, then have at it. And I think I should explain something here because I don't want this to sound as though I believe living alone means that I only have to think about myself. For me, the appreciation I have for peace and quiet didn't come from being selfish. It came from not having much of either for a very long time. There were many years when I felt as though my opinions and my wishes didn't carry much weight. I spent a lot of time walking on eggshells, never quite knowing what kind of mood the day was going to bring. And during the conflict or unhappiness in the home, there wasn't really anything I could do to make it better. I just had to wait for it to pass. I became very accustomed to compromise and sacrifice and putting my own wants farther down the list or completely off the list. And I think one of the hardest things about that is that you can spend years believing that if you just compromise a little more, if you just try a little harder, eventually there will be peace. But there isn't. For me, there's something incredibly comforting about knowing that my day begins peacefully and ends peacefully. That my home is a place where I can exhale and where I don't have to anticipate somebody else's bad mood. And I think that's why I enjoy solitude so much. It's not that I don't like people or that I don't want companionship, and it's certainly not that I believe my needs are more important than anyone else's. It's that after spending many years putting peace somewhere down at the bottom of the list, I finally understand how precious it is. And maybe that's why some of the things I mentioned earlier sound so wonderful to me. Sleeping on the couch just because I feel like it, and having the television on or off, or eating what I want and staying up all night and binge watching Netflix if the mood strikes. They're tiny things, but they're also little reminders that my life is mine to live. So yes, I love my quiet and solitude. I love that nobody is going to be upset because I decided to rearrange the furniture again. But more than anything, I love the feeling of coming home to peace and quiet, and I don't think I'll ever stop being grateful for that. I don't want to pretend that living alone is all pancakes at 4 in the morning and uninterrupted access to the bathroom. There are obviously some things about living alone that aren't quite as much fun. For one thing, yes, you do get to do everything, but you have to do everything. There is nobody else to take out the garbage and nobody else to change the light bulb or deal with the clogged sink, and nobody else to look at the laundry basket and say, someone should really take care of this. And sometimes I would really like to outsource that to someone, but I can't. There are also days when I think, wouldn't it be nice if someone else dealt with this? Not necessarily because I want someone living here with me. I just want somebody to magically appear and fix the problem, which unfortunately is not how life works. I can be perfectly happy sitting in my home all by myself, and I can also have a day when I really miss having somebody around. Both things can be true. Sometimes you just want to tell somebody something. You see something funny, or you remember something, or you have a ridiculous story, and there's nobody sitting beside you to hear it. That's one of the things about living alone that I think can sneak up on you. You don't necessarily feel lonely, but you can sometimes feel a little disconnected from the world. And that's something I've learned I have to be intentional about. I have to make plans, and I have to pick up the phone. I have to go out and see people. And I have to make sure my entire social life doesn't consist of talking to the cats. Although they are excellent listeners, they just have absolutely no useful advice. One unexpected benefit of living alone is that you become capable of doing things you might never have learned otherwise. Because when there's nobody else to do it, you eventually figure it out. Sometimes you figure it out yourself, and sometimes you figure out that you need to call a professional. Living alone doesn't mean you have to be able to do everything yourself. It just means you have to be willing to take responsibility for finding the solution. And I feel that can be quite empowering. And I think that's what I love most about living alone. It's not that everything is easier. It isn't. Some things are definitely harder. There are chores I don't want to do, and bills I don't want to pay, and problems I don't want to solve. And occasionally I would really enjoy having somebody else to ask, could you deal with this? But there is also this wonderful sense of freedom. I can eat the same dinner 3 nights in a row, and I can watch 6 television shows and finish none of them. And I can keep my home exactly the way I like it. I can change my mind, and nobody needs to approve any of it. Independence doesn't mean that you never need anybody. It simply means that you've learned to build a life that works for you. Sometimes it means making yourself get out of the house and see other human beings. And sometimes it means eating ice cream straight from the container because nobody is here to judge you. Although, let's be honest, even if somebody were here, I'd probably still do it. So if you live alone, I'd love to know, what's something you do differently simply because nobody else lives with you? And please tell me I'm not the only person who occasionally sleeps on the couch for a change of scenery. Thank you for spending this time with me. I so appreciate you all. Until next time, take care.